That's one small step for man.
AI rebels face.
Giant leap for mankind.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the AI Rebels podcast. As always, I'm your co-host, Jacob.
And I am your other co-host, Spencer. We are here today with Daniel Yu. He is the founder of Finmate AI. Daniel, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to leave your previous background and pursue a career in the AI world.
Sure. So my background is I've been a licensed financial advisor for about 7 years working in Silicon Valley Bay Area. Obviously, most of my clients were folks in the tech world. Left TD Ameritrade. I was managing about $800 million for TD. About a year after the Schwab merger, I had been doing a master's program at Johns Hopkins in applied economics using AI to do stock price prediction modeling. My thesis advisor was a guy in FINRA who suggested I put my licenses in the new holding program that they created and go try something else. So I pivoted out into tech.
Wow,
Awesome.
That's quite the pivot. That's interesting. So predicting the stock market. Do you think AI is to the point that it can accurately predict the market?
That's an interesting question. I don't know about the current state. Because back then, this was about 2022 era, large language models hadn't quite taken off in the way that it had. And so a lot of it was numerical time series predictions, right? At least when I was studying, it was not doing a very good job. So we were trying different ML models, but ARIMA, autoregression integrated with a moving average, that very old, just standard model was out competing any
really?
ML or AI we tried. So at the time, it wasn't really doing anything. And then now with the explosion of LLMs, I think most of the focus on the research has shifted over to language models, not time series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Finmate. What is the I guess the mission statement? What is the problem we're solving?
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously AI is a very rapidly changing space. And so initially when I got started, this was back in the days of GPT-2, Da Vinci, Ada, that kind of thing.
The good old days.
The good old days. Yeah. With what was 3,000 tokens or something. Very, very minimal. I realized that one of my biggest pet peeves of being a financial advisor is a lot of the admin background work, right? And so, it was a very heavily commission-based business and industry. And so if I wasn't going out and talking to people, I wasn't really making money. And so the back office stuff kind of took away from building the business, right? And so initially Finmate was created to help alleviate a lot of the admin cruft. And so we initially got started by creating a note taker for financial advisors. We were the first AI note taker for advisors. We launched in 23 May. And the reason we wanted to create a specific one was there was the generic ones out there already, but I felt that the notes they were creating at the time with the limited LLM processing power was not good enough. Obviously, things have changed and this scene has exploded, and there's 30 of these things now, focused just on like the advisor space as well. And so we realized, hey, this is kind of a commodity at this point. So we've recently slashed costs all the way down to commodity levels. And then now we are moving on to creating custom agentic AI for small to mid-sized financial firms, generally focusing on firms that don't have internal tech teams to be able to develop these things on their own.
Interesting. So I'm always interested in with any financial technologies, the regulatory side. Is there any type of regulatory overhead that you guys have to take on, or is it all on your clients? Like, hey, you use this, like you're agreeing that you're going to use it in a way that is compliant with FINRA, with whatever other regulations exist.
Yeah. So to be frank, I feel like there's not that much regulation, right?
Really?
You would think that there would be more, right? It's just that FINRA is reactive, it looks like, more than proactive, right? And so what they'll generally do is they'll sit on the sidelines until they can just hammer somebody. And so
I see. You don't want to be that
trying
person.
to avoid right. And so what
like,
we've
don't
done
break
at
the
Finmate,
ice.
exactly. Yes. What we've done is unlike basically everyone that's come after us, because I'm an advisor, I have kind of the advisor viewpoint, is we do full data deletion of everything because we don't want to be considered books and records down the road, right? We
I
don't
see.
keep any data.
Yeah.
We don't access CRM data, things like that. But everyone else that's followed us, because they're all tech founded, data is their lifeblood, and so they take
Right.
all that data, right? And so
Right.
one of our competitors recently purchased another company that has 14 years of advisor note data, right? Now,
Wow.
on the front side, they'll say, oh, we don't use any advisor data for training, but then they just spend millions of dollars buying this other company with
Yeah.
14 years of advisor note data, right? So,
Yeah.
Well, what do you need that for?
right,
Instrument.
right. And so the
Interesting.
question is, exactly like, oh, interesting. Why did you buy that?
Yeah.
Um,
I guess
so
is that a
go ahead.
challenge for you
Mhm.
then, because you do delete the data? Like, does that make you concerned that you're at a disadvantage compared to, for example, this company who just bought 14 years of data to train on?
Potentially. But I think our bet has been that the rate at which AI, the base model, improves will far outstrip anything that we can do on a training level
Oh,
on top on our end, right? You've seen the growth, right? It's like every
Yeah.
6 months, the AI capacity doubles,
mhm.
Yeah.
and so I just didn't feel like we needed to take that risk.
Yeah.
Now, where I was wrong was I was assuming that the regulatory body would come down harder on data access management and data retention policies.
Mm.
And the fact that they haven't, and all of these kind of tech outsiders were just able to come in and run roughshod over the entire industry, that's honestly taken me a little bit aback, because the financial industry is not known for the alacrity in which they
Yeah.
adopt new tech. Yeah.
That's why it was the very first question I asked, because so I have a dad who worked in the cybersecurity sector for a long time, dealing with a lot of financial institutions, and then I briefly worked just doing tech support for a company that provided marketing support to financial advisors, and then my first developer job was at a fintech, and so I became very familiar with
Mhm.
the various regulations and legalities that must be contended with.
Yeah.
So I've been fascinated to hear how that's going. So it's even more fascinating to hear that there's not really anything going at all in terms of regulatory oversight.
There's really not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
FINRA
have
released a memo, I think, a couple months back, where
yeah
they're basically like, here's some guidelines.
Something
But
to
I
think
think they're
about.
really taking well, we'll wait until someone makes a mistake and then we'll find them.
Yeah, come down hard. Interesting. So I'm kind of fascinated because it sounds like one of, if not the first advisor-focused note-taking AI-based
We
applications.
were the first, yes.
The first. What was the initial response when you went to market?
Skepticism.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So for the advisors, because this was so new, and advisors themselves are pretty reluctant to try new things. And we've gone down the road of not fundraising, and so we couldn't buy out some of the influencers in the industry.
Oh, interesting.
right
And so we'll see if that was a mistake, but I personally believe that a lot of these valuations are absolutely insane. And so this is part of the reason we didn't go for fundraising. But the two that came right after us, they both fundraised about 40 mil, sold about 40%
Yeah.
of the companies, right? And so their implied valuation is already at 100 mil plus, and they have to hit that, right? And so we were not able to kind of just do this marketing blitz to get ahead of the competition, because again, my assumption was that this would move a lot slower, which was where I was wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been a wild ride, that's for sure.
yeah whirlwind.
Okay, so you said you recently made a decision to essentially price the note-taking app as a commodity.
Yeah.
And now what stage are you at? Is it going to be called Finmate, the agentic platform?
Right. So it's Finmate AI Note Taker is our note taking product, and then it's Finmate Assistant is the Agentics.
Assistant.
Yeah.
Got it.
And we'll also be launching a consultancy program where we do like a 3 to 6 month review of the financial firm's operations and make suggestions on how to optimize using AI. I think because of the speed of which AI is developing, a lot of less technical people are feeling a little bit adrift as to what they ought to be doing. And so,
Yeah.
because we haven't fundraised, we have the latitude to be able to do something a little bit less scalable, like consultancy custom development, because we don't
Interesting.
have
Yeah.
the investor gun to our head.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel like that market, there's just such a need. Like I think of my company right now that I work for, Nasuni, like this has been a huge focus in just because you have to shift the entire company's mindset to start thinking this way. Like, okay, what problems are there that can be remedied with AI? And it's so difficult. So to have an outside perspective come in and be able to just kind of shed light on that sounds very appealing.
Right, right. And we have, both experiences, right? We have experience building AI technology, clearly, and we have the financial advisory background. And so I think that's been appealing for a number of folks in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so I'd be interested to hear, because in providing some marketing support to financial advisors, I got to figure out that about 1 in 10 financial advisors is super forward looking, really excited about all technology.
Yeah.
Have you been able to find financial advisors like that? And I'm curious, what else are they doing that you see as unique compared to a pre-AI world? If there is anything that stands out.
I think the risk appetite has gone up in that,
Yeah.
whereas a lot of people would have been more reluctant to try new tech because just everyone is talking about AI. I think a lot of advisors are thinking, hey, I need to use this, but I just don't know how, which is why they're turning to folks like me and asking, like, what do I do?
yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So and maybe you haven't gotten there yet, which is fine if that's the answer, but I'm curious, when you go into a company, what is it that you look for like the low hanging fruit? Like what is ripe for AI?
Yeah, great question. Even in the beginning, when I was talking about this, I said the major candidates are things that were automatable even in the pre-AI environment, right? So a lot of repetitive tasks. The only difference now is AI can take it like one step further. Instead of like hard defining like repetitive tasks, you can let a little bit of slack in there, and have it kind of do a category of tasks instead of just having hard coded things. Obviously, hard coding is still more efficient and effective, but I think AI lets you be a little bit fuzzier, and that's pretty much it. That's the low hanging fruit. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So one thing I've heard, and maybe this isn't even true, but I'm going to say it anyway, so take it with a grain of salt, is that with this craze with Agentics, right? Everything's agentic right now in AI. Everyone wants agents.
Everyone.
Is it being over applied in the sense that are we trying to apply Agentics to problems that don't need agents?
For now, I'm going to say yes. As we've been developing out these agentics, what we realized is AI lets you be fuzzy, and you as the agent designer decide what level of fuzzy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so on the one hand, you have very hard to find if A input, then do B process, and then process out C output, right? Just one linear trigger, input, output, done, right? This is like the old school automation. You have like Zapier, things like that, right? Although on the other hand, you just throw it all into an MCP and then just let the AI figure out what it should do and then just do it, right? And then you have kind of somewhere in the middle where you're pre-processing, pre-chewing some of the thinking already, and you have it in set defined terms, and then you let the AI handle it from some halfway digested point, right? And as you determine across the spectrum what you ought to be doing, I think the temptation for a lot of people who are less techie is to just go full fuzz. Right. Just, we have MCP, just let MCP handle it all. And then the issue is it's very, very inconsistent. Right.
Yeah.
And then you have all the way at the other end, which is like, well, this is not really AI at this point, right? And so I think there is that issue where, because everyone is pursuing agentics and people are promising the world, people are just dumping it all into an MCP and just hoping it works out. So yeah, I think it is being over applied. The way we're approaching it is, again, because we're doing the consultation beforehand, where we're identifying key things that need to be automated. We're applying AI more towards the end of the process, as opposed to having AI control the whole thing, so that we can get better, measurable, consistent output.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
I like thinking of AI automation for myself as automating, instead of workflows necessarily, but almost thought processes. And that isn't exactly the right way to put it, but that's the closest thing I can describe it to, right? Processes where it's like, okay, you know, I have to sit through and think through this problem. So for example, you know, like writing some front end code, because I'm a developer, right?
Yeah.
I can sit down and figure out, you know, how I want to write the card layout, and then, you know, how I want to style the headlines and all that. Or I can tell AI, like, hey, I'm designing this, think about these 4 things and build it out for me. And when you frame it that way, I think it becomes a lot more attractive to people, because the common, when people are resistant to AI, from what I see and from what I've talked to, from when I've talked to people about it, they don't understand how to use it. Like they think that that it's a task machine and not a thought machine. Does that make sense? Right? It's like, hey, go write this code for me, and it'll go do it, but it has no idea what you actually want. Anyways.
The more input
I was going
you
somewhere
give
stronger
it,
with that, but
the more input you give it, and the more defined you make a task, or when you're leading it down a thought chain, I think that's where AI can shine. But I think people are hoping for a magic box where you just say something and it just does it for you. And unfortunately, it really, really doesn't. So for example, even in like front end development, like, so when we're doing front end development as well, you know, we're noticing like it doesn't know how to like create a clean style sheet. Right. So some elements it'll apply to that style elements sheets, you know, assign it correctly to that style sheet, and then some elements it just hard codes it in. And so now you have like 2 classes where it should be 1 class, and it's a toddler.
A really smart one, but
it
needs a lot of guardrails. So what would you say are the biggest pitfalls for Agentics that you've seen? Or AI, I guess, in general?
I think it's a lot less capable than people think. And so it takes a lot of development to actually put it in the proper guardrails to make the processing happen properly. And I think there's a lot of people that are positioning themselves as AI experts that are very, very not technical. And that's leading to an inflation of expectations, I think. Where again, it goes back to the whole magic box concept. Like, oh, you just put in, you know, whatever command, and the magic machine does the magic thing, and it just does everything for you. And
your job's done. You don't need to work anymore.
But you know, then the issue that we have is like we're trying to, you know, manage expectations, right? Like, hey, like this is still tech; it's not magic. You know, AI doesn't actually understand you. And so we have to do a lot of work to do a lot of the pre-chewing and the pre-processing to make it work fast enough, efficient enough, consistent enough. But you know, I think there's just too many charlatans now because it's such a lucrative field. The other concern I would have is this has got to be a bubble, right? Like the valuations.
You think
insane.
So? You think it's for sure a bubble?
Well, I mean, coming from our perspective as like a, you know, startup ground up building. Some of the valuations, some of the funding rounds are ludicrous.
Crazy.
Right. The implied valuations of some of these companies are like over 100 million. And it's like there's no realistic expectation that they can maintain whatever snapshot of revenue they have, because there's no moat in any AI development. Like everything gets copied instantly. once something is built, AI gets trained on it, and so the AI can then generate a copy of it instantly. So prices have to come down, meaning revenues will drop, meaning there's no way to defend these valuations, right?
Yeah.
And if you can't defend the valuations, and some of these smaller companies start tanking, then the bottom line revenue generators for some of the service providers are going to start taking a hit, and then
Yeah.
what, right? So I think 2026, maybe 7 will be an interesting year. It depends on when the risk appetite of a lot of these venture firms runs out.
Yeah, that's what has blown me away is, because I agree, like it's got to be a bubble to some degree, like either that or in the background AGI really has been invented and it just hasn't made its way out yet.
It's
But
containment.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's still in its
Still on
castle
a
or
thumb
whatever they
drive
called
somewhere.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SCP.
Yeah. Right.
And I've wondered like what it will take for the bubble to pop. Because frankly, I'd love to see it. Because I'd love to see the tide go out, and I'd love to see who has legs here and what applications. Like I'm so excited. Like I don't want to advocate for the bubble popping in a lot of ways, because that's that means a lot of people
pain.
losing their jobs, etc.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, a lot of pain. But there's almost a morbid interest I have with seeing who is real here, who can actually survive and continue on, and who is pets.com. I think I've mentioned pets.com. That's probably like the 100th time I've mentioned on this podcast.
That's a deep cut. Yeah.
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 I mean, it's go ahead.
Okay. Well, the bubble, right? It runs out when investor money runs out, ultimately. Right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
investor money was sitting on the sidelines throughout all of Corona because there's nothing to invest in. I think there was a lot of crypto things that were very hyped, very bubbled, but I think crypto, there was no real industrial application for crypto, right? Anything, all of the startups that I've seen built on crypto, you could have built just by having the equivalent of an in-game token, right? There's no real industry value in it. I think a lot of it is just the greater fool theory for crypto.
Yeah.
And so because a lot of investors were burned, they're sitting on a lot of cash, and then Corona happened, and so they're just still sitting on more cash. Around that time, actually, I was approached by some folks who wanted me to kind of join them as to start a VC fund and help be a part of the founding team. And eventually that team just gave all the money back to investors because there's nothing to invest in, right? And so out comes this shiny new thing, right? AI. It actually has, industrial application, and don't get me wrong, like it's actually useful, right, in certain capacities. And so all of this dry powder that was sitting on the sun just started pouring into the market. But once that treasure trove ends, I think is when the cascade happens. Because I've spoken with a lot of very risk-averse VC groups, I'll say, that are owned by some major corporations, like brand name corporations, in the financial world. And the risk-averse folks are not touching AI with a 10-foot pole with investments, right? Because they're like, the valuations are insane. There's nowhere we're going to make our money back. We're just going to wait for this whole thing to blow over. And so it's a lot of the smaller VCs and the more risk-hungry VCs that are funding this whole thing.
Hoping to make it big.
As that runs out, as soon as it runs out, this whole ecosystem collapses, I think.
I think it will be very intriguing to see, because there's just so many. AI is unique because I feel like there are external variables to just these independent companies and their valuations. Like there's the factor that's fueling a lot of the hype, right? Is this race with the big AI companies? ChatGPT, they're coming out every 6 months and it can do all these new things. And so I think that is also kind of coloring everyone's view of the entire industry, which like what ChatGPT is doing and what it's capable of, like that, I don't think is a bubble. Like they are charting new territory. It's incredible. But there are a lot of like little leeches like living off of this hype.
Yeah.
And I want to see those ones go away, but I want everyone else to do well.
Well, what's interesting is I think that even I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that OpenAI is starting to get scared about this as well. Just the other day, did you guys see the news that Sam Altman asked for like basically a guarantee from the federal government that if OpenAI invests in data centers in the U.S. that they won't lose money, and that to me personally, and take this for what it's worth. I'm not not a trained economist or anything like that. But that to me, that seems like a big warning sign if, the biggest player in the space is like, hey, could you give me a guarantee on this just in case? Like, I promise you everything's going to go great just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of repeating some of the too big to fail type logic that you saw in early 2000s.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen I think it was published by Bloomberg. It was the net of cash flows or cash exchanges between some of the big players. Microsoft invests 800 million into AI, who purchases 800 million worth, right? It's like, okay, so we're just pumping numbers at this point, right?
It's just funny
because
money.
any kind of valuation is a revenue multiple to some degree, and so Microsoft hands 800 million over to OpenAI hands that 800 million back, and suddenly we're 1.6 billion in economic activity.
But it's right back to where
is it really? Right. Is it really?
Yeah.
And so
it's
even
so interesting.
those articles just paint a picture of all these big players just passing money in between each other: NVIDIA, OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, right? Google, and then they're valued at multiples of that churn, and it's just churn.
Man.
I think there's going to be some kind of cataclysm.
Yeah. which is scary, because either it's not a bubble and it just continues, or it's a bubble,
and that's kind of scary in of itself, right? Like,
exactly.
like, because that means that our economy has come completely unmoored from the foundations that previously grounded it, like, and we're on to new fundamentals, at least as far as I understand.
Right, but the issue is it creating that much value, right? Is it actually creating value? And this was my issue with a lot of the Web3 crypto. It's like it wasn't creating actual value, in my opinion,
right?
Because everything you could build with it, you could build without it. So like, what was the purpose of that besides the hype, right?
Just shiny new. Interesting.
That's kind of how I'm viewing AI. Is there's definitely some industrial applications, and I think ultimately there will be some form of industrial application. All the other stuff, I just don't see it being worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
I think a big turning point in my mind is once AI and essentially when AI can interact with the real world, like tangibly with robotics, things like that. I think that's going to be a big turning point in industrial application, because at this point we see Amazon using their robots and things like that, but as far as wide scale industrial application, we're not there yet. But that, I think, will be a very interesting turning point.
On that note, here's my question: 10 years down the line, what American AI companies still have a place in the market? Because what I see coming is, some sort of cataclysm. A lot of the American AI companies are just blitzed, and then the Chinese AI companies are not, because they have, they've organized their work differently. Like, DeepSeek's models are cheaper to run. They're focusing more on robotics applications, things like that. What are your guys' opinions? That one's hard to kind of prognosticate about. But.
Yeah, the safe bets are Google and Microsoft.
I know, right? Which I kind of hate, but
right. I'm so mad that it's come back to Google. On one hand, I'm not mad. I really admire Google, and reading a bunch of Google books in middle school is hugely influential to me. But on the other hand, like, it's so boring. Can't we get another mega corporation?
Will the emperor ever be unseated? Like, I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean,
and maybe that's okay.
But yeah. I mean, even like DeepSeek, for example, right? Like, they're already getting, I think, outcompeted in Chinese domestic markets by other AI. And so, unless you have some kind of core base, I feel like the competition is just too fierce right now.
Yeah. Well, to kind of shift gears, because I wanted your thoughts on this other
Yeah.
question, Daniel. The advisor space is very similar to other spaces where you're you're selling expertise, right? You're advising, you're selling your expertise, your knowledge. AI, obviously it's still a toddler in many ways, but it has passed, for example, I'm a CPA. It's passed the CPA exam. It's done these
Yep.
things
Yep.
where expertise is becoming more of a commodity, essentially.
Yep.
Where
Yep. Absolutely.
where do you see the advisor market going and getting married with AI?
Yeah, I see it bifurcating into two different markets. And so pre-AI, I think advisors were dividing up the client base into three broad categories, maybe four. So you have the ultra high net worth, you have the high net worth, you have the mass affluent, and then you have everyone else, right? So ultra high net worth, 10 mil plus, high net worth, 1 mil plus, mass affluent, 500K plus, and then everyone else, right? And so there's different platforms and different tools that were catered towards those things, right? So ultra high net worth, you needed like a specialty or like family office or specialized advisors that can handle a lot of the estate planning stuff because that gets very complicated. And you have the high net worth, which is 1 mil to 10 mil, pretty vanilla, just financial planning, but still you generally would have a human associated and attached. Mass affluent, that's where you start getting into just online advice, or there are now certain advisors focusing on the mass affluent market where they're charging just like a base subscription fee instead of a asset fee. And then you have everyone else that's not, either Robin Hooding it or robo advising it, right?
Yeah.
With the advent of AI, I think there's going to be a split where a lot of the robo and the mass affluent will start gravitating more towards the robo AI robo advisors. That's going to be a lot cheaper. But then on the other end of the market, I think it's still a luxury good in a sense where you have a guy, right, that you can call and it's human and
Yeah.
that can take liability is the other key thing. I'm sure you as a
Oh,
CPA,
yeah.
right? It's like AI is not licensed. It's not a licensed CPA, right? So if it gets wrong and it files a return, like who takes the liability in that case, right?
Right.
And so ultimately, the point of all these licensing is who do we get to sue?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. I mean, I carried, errors and omissions insurance, right? And so if I made a mistake, right, and I get sued, I had insurance to cover me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure AI will figure out some way to pull the risk of that. But at the same time, for the ultra high net worth and some of the high net worth individuals, they'll probably still want a guy that they can kind of talk to, see, get lunch with. And so I think that's where the industry's going, is in those two.
Do you think that the high net worth and ultra high net worth will mind if that guy ultimately has, a robot that he is consulting
Right.
to help his clients?
No, because even in those places, the front guy is a relationship manager, not an investor, right?
Gotcha.
The higher up you go, you're outsourcing all your investment decisions anyway. The advisor is just a quarterback that hires different fund managers, as well as a different CPA, a different, all of these other financial services tools.
Yeah.
And so if certain pieces gets replaced, the end client's not really going to know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. And do you think the barrier to entry to become an advisor will grow? Will it become harder because you have to be that much better? Like a mediocre advisor can just be replaced, right? Like you have to be exceptional, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think the question of exceptionability as an advisor, there's not really a hard skill of being an exceptional advisor, right? It's a human thing, and even more now with AI, right? Like when robo advising came out and when online trading came out, um, the advisor industry took a big hit because for most people you don't need a guy, and so it's shifted a lot into being a financial therapist more than like you should invest in this, right? And so unless you have good connections, I don't think you can be an advisor moving forward. It was already kind of like that to begin with, But I think that's going to get more and more real because I think for the mass affluent market, it's going to get more and more commoditized, right? And so if you want to fight it out at that and then try to become an advisor to one of the ultra high net worth, like that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
I just don't see it as a growing segment.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Oh, and the other thing also is because with all of this money floating around the VC space, the big thing for the past like 5 years in the financial advising space is a lot of consolidation, right? A lot of advisory firms are buying each other out
Yeah.
because it's one of the stickiest revenue sources I think in existence. Like the churn rate for an advisor is super super low, and so people, I think at the height of the bubble, it was peaking at like 15x revenue multiple for valuations. It was pretty insane. Yeah. Obviously it's crashed out, but since then. But I think bubble peak a couple years back, it was like some
15x.
deals were like reaching 15x. And so that's the other kind of data point I would say in that this segment is collapsing or like contracting is consolidation means less you're trying to have less workers servicing the same revenue stream. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen more and more.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
What's
Go ahead,
the
Spence.
biggest misconception you've faced when you go to a financial advisor's office, you're trying to sell them Finmate? What's kind of the biggest misconception you face when trying to sell?
The Agentics or the note taker?
Agentics.
Agentics, yeah. I think most people just don't know what it does.
Yeah.
There's no,
like, period.
I don't think there's any kind of like misconception. It's just like they don't know.
There's no conception to start with.
Correct. Yeah. Like,
yeah,
oh,
which
I've
is
heard.
interesting. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's like
So what does that
education
sales
has to happen
process look like?
first.
Like obviously I'm
A lot
not
of
asking for
consultation.
your whole pitch right now, but
Yeah, a lot of consultation.
yeah, how do you build knowledge to start with?
Well, a lot of it is just talking to them about like, hey, what are your current operational processes? It's taking a lot of time, and then I start throwing ideas of like things we've built for other people, and it's just brainstorming a few sessions together. And then eventually, once I think they understand the concept of how like the bones of this works, then I give them some homework on like, hey, all right, now you know like the bare bones like structure of this thing. Why don't you go and create a wish list for me on what functionalities you want this agent to be able to do, and then we can talk about how much it'll cost to build it.
It's so interesting.
Well, that answers my next
question,
which was going to be in a world of AI where almost any automation you can think of is, theoretically possible with enough scaffolding. How do you decide what to do? And there's the answer: money.
Yeah.
Budget.
Yeah, budget.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And part of the consultation process is like, hey, we can do it this way, or we can do it that way. This will probably be cheaper and easier for us to build it, right? And I think that's part of why they would come to us is for that expertise. Like, there's tools like N8N out there, right? You can kind of hack it yourself, but then when things go wrong, what are you gonna do?
Who do you talk to?
Right, right.
So go hire someone on Fiverr.
Fiverr.
Now that's stacking tolerances on tolerances, and it's like, yeah, that's gonna be spaghetti on spaghetti.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, how do you think AI is changing the definition of expertise, or is it changing the definition of expertise?
That's a really good question. I think it's raising the floor, right? Because some of the, I guess, industry know-how is now open to me, right? Like, I have I have a cousin that works in the hotel industry, right? She manages butlers for one of the big hotels in Las Vegas, right? I didn't even know their butlers existed, right? And she's like, oh yeah, like when VVIPs come over, we assign a butler to each, celebrity that comes over, and the butler's in charge of all the other servants. And it's like, I have no idea what any of that stuff meant.
Like, where are we living?
But now with AI, I can ask things about a certain industry, and just that base level know-how is accessible to me. Now, I don't know the intricacies, and so I think the expertise comes from understanding the intricacies. But knowing certain things exist, I think, are now much more open. because you can just ask AI about a specific industry and it'll give you the broad know-how on that field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there
one
go ahead,
common
Spice.
take I've seen on AI is that um, that it's going to give an advantage to generalists because of the democratization of information, etc. And I can see the argument there, but from my perspective, I think that it's actually going to give an advantage to people who are willing to get really, really, really deep on a topic, because that's something that AI just constitutionally can't really do in the same way that a human can. And I'm exaggerating slightly, and I'm sure that there will be some study or some model that comes out in 6 months that proves me wrong. But for now, at least, to have that narrow domain expertise, I think is kind of where human workers can still gain their edge. It's like, yeah, AI may be better at me than at rigging up a React component, but it's not better at rigging up a web GPU inference process. I don't know, just spitballing random things, right? And obviously, again, AI will eventually eat the world. Maybe we'll see. But hypothetically, it's possible. But it seems to me that people are overlooking the continued utility of really, really, really deep domain knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with that is there's going to be fewer and fewer people who can reach above that rising water line.
Yeah.
Right. People have different talents. I think it's okay to admit, right? So people are differently talented. Hopefully that's not too taboo to say. But as the minimum rises, less and less people will be able to overcome that minimum, right? And so I don't know how that's going to play out in the long run. On the other hand, I think the real key would be being able to synthesize the different domains to be able to execute on certain outcomes, right? If you don't know what to ask, at least for now, AI is not necessarily proactive. Yeah. And so knowing what to ask the AI to do, I think, is the differentiator currently. Now, I'm sure with Agentics, down the road, we'll have like proactive things happen, and we are building some proactive agents as well. But building those proactive agents required our company to have the domain expertise to know what to be proactive on. Right. And so I think that's probably where humans will still have some utility. It's okay to say.
Yeah. I mean, at least maybe AGI will just know everything and do everything. But until we get to that point, until the singularity is reached and we are no longer relevant,
we all live in a black hole.
Until that, be a shooting war before that happens.
Yeah, probably. Until we get there, it does seem like humans have a unique ability to understand the nuances, because AI is a machine. It's not emotional. It's hard for any. I think of some of the people I know that are just so rational, especially in the accounting world. You get that a lot. Very logical.
Yeah.
Little emotion. And even for them to predict how another emotional human is going to react is very difficult. Yeah. And so I think that's where we will continue to see a lot of relevance for humans, especially those who are socially and emotionally aware. I think soft skills will suddenly start to become very, very relevant, I think.
Yeah. And this was my prognostication on the advisor market, was because post-corona, everyone was a lot of people were moving to a virtual first practice where they're just meeting people virtually. And I've been telling people, you got to go back to in person, because there's AI already that can do a video call. Right. And so unless you're breathing the same air, like, you're going to get replaced. And so I think you're right. It is that human element, but unfortunately, I think OpenAI just hired 100 therapists, because there's millions of people using OpenAI as their therapist.
Oh yeah.
So for the socially well-adjusted, yes, I think they'll understand that the human to human interaction, there's more depth there. But as our society becomes less and less socially well adjusted, I don't know if there's going to be enough difference to make a difference on the social front, human front as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I'm curious, Daniel, we're talking about all of this. You mentioned how when you're selling Agentics, it's like you almost have to educate them first before they realize there's a need and what's possible.
Yeah.
This is kind of a higher level question. Just from your experience in doing all this, what do you think is the real barrier to adoption of AI? It's easy when you're in the AI world to think everyone's using it, but then when you step out for a minute, it's crazy how many people are not using AI at all.
I think the big barrier is just the deluge of choice. The biggest thing one of the biggest reasons we moved over to doing kind of this consultancy is because things are changing so rapidly. There's just so much data coming at people, information coming at people about AI. I think people are getting overloaded and they don't know what's real, what actually works, and what's actually useful. And so being able to parse that out is what people need. And so I think that's kind of the biggest barrier right now, is just I think people are paralyzed by choice.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, some friends and I always talk about starting a due diligence service where people pay us, $200, and we just go look at the AI startup they're thinking about investing in, and we tell them whether it's legit or not, just based on their, based on their pitch deck and their Twitter following.
Seriously. And their Discord page.
Yeah, this guy sucks.
Well, hopefully I'll pass your $200 test.
We'll see, Dan.
We'll see. We don't have a Twitter or a Discord. We're marketing to kind of old. It's an old.
You pass already. You're done. That's it.
Say, from my experience with the financial advisors, I think if you mention Discord to them, like,
what
they'd
is
have
Discord?
they'd be like the Bible.
Seriously. Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to get people to use Slack, so Discord, I think. Is
I had some of the phone calls that I took from people were just delightful.
Look, I have to sometimes help people attach a PDF to their email.
Yeah, no, that's why I was
gosh,
very interested to hear right off about like the regulation stuff. Because the other thing that I experienced with financial advisors is about 50% of them really want to lie to their customers. like the other 50%, great, really, like they're going out of their way to make sure that they're not misleading, their clients, extremely, scrupulous about their disclosure. And then the other 50% were like, so I want to promise a 5% return. But I can't actually I'm exaggerating slightly, but it's like, it was shocking. Some of the requests I got. I'm like, even if I could do that, I don't want to help you do that, man.
Interesting.
So I was fascinated to hear, how marketing to financial advisors has gone. And if you had encountered anyone terrible like I had encountered.
not really. Maybe I've been blessed, but like in all my time of being an advisor, like that's not really been a thing. Maybe it's because I've worked for kind of big corporations that are pretty.
That's what I was about to say. Is almost everyone that I interacted with who was partnered with a TD Ameritrade and LPL, or like a large group, was great. It was almost all, I hate to say it, was almost all small family practice type dudes in the South.
The free thinkers.
I don't want to be stereotypical, but like it was
interesting.
It was a very specific type of person where when I'd get their call, I'm like, I'm going to get some weird questions.
Yeah, right.
It was fascinating.
Were those folks mostly on the insurance space?
I think so.
Yeah, that's generally how it goes. The insurance exam is very, very easy.
Okay, that explains a lot.
Yeah, the securities, they've made it a lot easier, which kind of makes me do the whole old man yelling at clouds thing. But back when I took it,
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
like
Back in my day.
it was
I'd
a
walk-
6-hour exam.
Oh wow.
For the Series 7 securities license. They've now cut it up until you take the SIE, which is a 3-hour thing, I think, and then you take the top up, which is another 3-hour thing, which makes me mad. It's like, why did I have to sit through a 6-hour thing and you guys can
Yeah,
just do
totally.
2 3-hour chunks?
Those punks, those young bloods.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's probably a big portion of the difference is also the regulation around the insurance market is very, very different than the regulation around the securities market. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense and explains a lot.
So I would ask what licensed they are. And
Interesting.
I mean, I'm licensed in both, right? I have my securities as well as my insurance, and I have sold insurance. Insurance is not evil, but it's a tool to be used for specific purposes on risk mitigation.
I was gonna say there's a lot of things out there that are not evil, but unfortunately, there are aspects of them that attract a manipulative or exploitative type of person.
Yeah, well, it's also that, but in my experience with the insurance industry, a lot of times it attracts well-meaning people, but the companies kind of manipulate the people
with like incentives and things like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
As we are finishing up here, if you could design kind of the perfect partnership model between human and AI, what does that look like?
Partnership model, probably a personal assistant, right? This is, I think, what was the dream, I guess, behind Siri?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you're bought in.
Hey, can you do XYZ?
Kind of the Jarvis vision, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say that's probably the ideal. And I think we're getting close to it with Agentics, right? The whole idea of Agentics is you have a delegatory AI at the top, and that's your assistant, and then you add functionality underneath it. And
do you think there's a worry that Agentics would ever reach a point of having too much autonomy? I mean, obviously, AI could tomorrow.
I'm more worried about the advertising side of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. I'm super interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because personal assistant, when you hire like a human personal assistant, you can kind of relatively sure, like, hey, they're on your payroll, so they're going to try to do what's in your best interest. But when your personal assistant is owned by a multi-trillion conglomeration, they're not going to suggest the ideal things to you. They're going to suggest things that make them money, right? But my concern is that it'll be so ingrained that after a certain point where it's like, hey, assistant, buy me dog food, and then the agent will see, okay, well, who paid the most fee? Which dog food company paid us the most to service them, their dog food, and then it'll just deliver that dog food to you.
What a coincidence! The Purina vector is really strong.
Purina every single time. Yeah.
Hey, it's just
that's so true. Yeah, it's just the best. That's
and
all.
Then you ask, like, hey, why did you pick Purina? And the AI will be smart enough to give arguments and conveniently leave out the fact that Purina paid them millions and billions of dollars.
Yep. So is the answer there?
5 out of 5 scientists say,
Seriously, is the answer there that everyone is going to need to have a Jarvis, an in-home hosted locally assistant?
But even if it's in-home locally trained, like, the question is, what was it trained to do, right? I would say the real solution is like the whole Linux thing, where it's open source, mass distributed, just like people building it for the love of building it,
right?
But then we run into the distribution problem that Linux has of, like, okay, but who actually uses Linux?
Yeah, I know. Like, the idea of it sounds cool, but it's just but it's so cool when they do.
Yeah, and then nowadays all those Linux nerds are all using Mac, because if you're going to be a developer, you have to have a MacBook, and so it's like, yeah. But hopefully the open source can provide like a good baseline
Yeah, for sure.
Do you
Yeah.
think, would you be at all optimistic about regulation in the space being able to avoid kind of the advertising problem? Me personally,
No.
I'm not really.
No.
It's zero.
It seems like something that's like, it's, if it's frozen in the weights, that's hard to police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already
Yeah.
seeing it, right? Like OpenAI is generating a lot of sales leads already, and I think they're
Yeah.
pivoting to trying to put advertising in the suggestion engine.
Well, what's interesting
It's
is
too late. Yeah.
Yeah.
back when when OpenAI released custom GPTs forever ago, right? I went and I made a stupid little custom GPT called Stoner GPT just for fun, just to see if I could get him talking like a Cheech and Chong movie type thing, right?
Okay.
And within a couple of weeks, I had a group reach out to me and pitch me on a service they were offering that would essentially insert ads into, and I have no idea how successful they actually were with this, what exactly the mechanism was, because I thought about it, I'm like, that's terrible, I don't want to do that. But it's been interesting to me that it hasn't yet proliferated, but I think that you're right that it will.
I think it has to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like at some point they need to make money off of it.
Google
and-
exists because
and-
of ads, right?
For sure.
Right,
It's the
exactly.
only
That's what I was gonna say. It's
scalable
like,
revenue
unfortunately,
source. Yeah.
the only for the web, like it's the only thing that gets you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google is an ad serving company. Like that's all they do basically.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to that dystopia of everything is ads.
Here we come. Here we go. Daniel, one last question. If you
Yeah.
could give a short piece of advice to all these other AI founders, because as an AI company goes, you're fairly mature.
2 years old and mature, yes.
Seriously. Well, like what's a piece of advice that you've learned from your time as an AI startup that you would impart to other people listening?
Good question. I don't know if I've made the right choice. Right, in going the no funding route. So I would say just make a clear-headed choice in where you want to go. If you want to try to make it big and get the bag, go fundraise your heart out and give yourself a nice salary, because I don't think the valuations are going to work out. Take what you can.
Yeah,
from the
right.
investors. But if you want to go the other way and try to build like a sustainable practice, buckle up, because it's going to be a rough little patch because of all the funding that everyone else has that'll try to like stamp you out. So
yeah,
I don't think there's a good choice to be made here, but
Sharpen your elbows.
But make one and then yeah.
Make one and hope for the best. I don't know, man.
No,
that's
I
what I'm
love it.
doing.
Love it.
That's the best you can do sometimes.
So true.
That's actually something that I've grown to a quick tangential side note about life in general. It's just so much better to just make a decision and go for it sometimes. Often it doesn't matter what the decision is. It just matters that you make a decision.
You made your choice. Don't
Figure it
second
out.
guess it. Just
Sink
if it
or
works
swim.
out, great. If it doesn't, well, you tried.
You'll make another decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. It has been a pleasure.
awesome.
We'd love to have you on again in 5-6 months. Who knows?
Yeah, I'd
Because
love
it sounds
to
like you guys are
hear more about
changing fast.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
And I guess Daniel, real quick, all the socials. If people want to follow you, follow Finmate, what's
Sure.
the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, again, we're marketing to kind of an older market. So we have a website, we have LinkedIn, so you can find us at finmate.ai, FINMATE.ai, or you can look me up on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect.
Awesome.
We'll drop links in the description for sure. Thanks for coming on, Daniel.
Absolutely. Pleasure.